All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello. This is Ignacy and Portal Games.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 245, and we're recording it a bit late on August 30th, 2022. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network, and Tom Vassell is laughing at me even more today than usual. Why? Because I was up at the Kennedy Space Center yesterday, Monday, August 29th. I was there for 2 days before that as well to witness the Artemis 1 launch. And sadly, we had a failure to launch. It did not go. Very sad, but I still had a great time because I met 2 astronauts. It was so cool. Ignacy, it was a great day, but we didn't launch.
I was super surprised when I found your post on Facebook that you are over there, and I was checking like, oh my God, it's 11 a.m. here in Poland. What the hell is going on? And then I learned from the video that you woke up at 2 a.m. to get there at 3 p.m. 3 a.m.
Yep.
Yeah, to be there. And then I was watching your next video, and believe it or not, I was so rooting for you that it will happen. And I'm not sad about these NASA engineers who have depression right now, most likely. I was not caring about anything but just you, because you're my friend, and I felt you being there and hoping to this Artemis start, and it was a failure. So I felt very sorry for you, and I want to say it very, very seriously. Man, I respect you. Your passion, you love what you're doing, and you went there 2 a.m. I fully respect you, and greetings from Poland. You're the icon.
Thank you. I'll get into a little more of those details of how that all played out right in a minute during my little segment. But let's first go over to what's going on at Portal Games, my friend.
At Portal Games, we have all 4 engines ready for Essen.
All the engines are working on your side. Got it.
So everything is in a full preparation for us, and my team is checking all the boxes to make it happen for you, for our fans, for our customers, for gamers. I'd like to remind you that we have pre-orders open for both our American release, that is Brazil, and for our worldwide release, that is Basilica, that is 11, that is Raft of the Lanterns, all these new releases, everything on pre-order. So go to portalgamesus.com and check out all these new games. Last episode, I was discussing Basilica, our tile-laying 2-player area control game. Today, I'd like to give 1 minute of description to the expansion for the Empires of the North. Expansion is called Raft of the Lanterns, of Lighthouse. I don't know, like a raft of something. You will figure out it. But this is a solo expansion. And I remember precisely when Steven was discussing for the first time the solo game to release by Stronghold Games, because when we started the industry, solo gaming was like a niche. And now, this many years ago, solo gaming is so popular. There's so many of you gamers who play solo, have all this setup in your game room, and you're playing these amazing games solo. So there's more and more solo games released, or solo variants, or solo expansion. This one mentioned here is a solo expansion. So the base game, Empires of the North, a great game, Seal of Excellence, 10 out of 10 review from the Dice Tower, great game. It already has a solo variant. It already has 6 unique scenarios for solo. So if you buy the base game, you have this solo experience. But because it has so many great feedback from the fans, we went all in, and you have this Raft of the Lighthouse. It has 14 scenarios that combine one big campaign, a narrative story campaign. So you can play Empires of the North, 14 unique scenarios, and in the base game of Empires of the North, there is a 6 unique clans. So you can play this campaign with each clan, and each clan will have a little bit different strategy. So lots of gameplay. If you're playing solo, if you're a solo gamer, you need to check out the Empires of the North and this new expansion dedicated for you, designed by Jana Kijanka, my super brilliant developer. And this is one of our releases for Essen. So solo gamers, pay attention, go to portalgamesus.com to learn more. And of course, in upcoming days and weeks, closer to the Essen, we will put more and more of the data, of the information about this expansion. So this was happening for Essen. And from the HQ, a very important year of the year, Ignacy is on vacation. I literally came here to the office just to record this podcast because the World Cup is happening and Ignacy took days off, obviously. The World Cup in volleyball, I know that nobody cares about volleyball, but I care, so this is important for me. And this World Cup is not only happening in Poland, which is super exciting for me, but it is happening in my city. So in my very city, World Cup is happening. I'm absolutely crazy about it. I bought all the possible tickets, so I'm going to the stadium to see all these best teams in the world. I'm obviously rooting for Poland, but today, 3 hours after this recording, Poland is playing against USA. Guess what? So very, very interesting match. Both the teams, Poland and USA, are told to be one of the best in the world. So we will see who will win. So yes, I'm not working these days. I'm watching volleyball all day long, going to the stadiums, watching on my TV as well. Great time for me and not great time for the team, because the team asks me stupid questions about Essen and I say, I don't care now.
That's great, man.
This is what's happening here in Poland.
So you literally took these days off, but you came in just to do the recording. That's very nice.
There is 8 matches a day. Like, it is very difficult to catch up with everything. I'm checking flashscore.com. I'm checking the here transmissions. I'm preparing my tickets to go to the stadium. So many things. I don't have time for Essen.
It's volleyball, dude. Something you play on the beach. You know, when you're drinking beer. That's volleyball. Come on. You Europeans have got some weird sports you like.
World Cup in my city. How cool is that?
I know, that is very cool. And of course, as we know, the World Cup of your really favorite sport, football or soccer, will be here in Florida very soon, right? It's next year. No, 2 years. 24? 2024.
22, yes, you are right. The COVID changed everything. Like, I'm losing,
Crazy.
I will come.
Let's see if he'll make it. That will be great. Okay, here at the Podfather Gaming, we'll start where I'm going to start, the World Series of Board Gaming. By the time you hear this, they probably will have closed ticket sales. Maybe not, though, because if we can get this thing dropped within 2 days, that's right. Yes, by the time you hear this, you still have the last days of opportunity to get a ticket for the World Series of Board Gaming in Las Vegas to hang out with me, game in the biggest open gaming library in North America. It's the Dice Tower West Library they're using there. Game, open gaming, and of course, if you're so inclined, you can play for the $40,000 in prizes and possibly be crowned the world champion of board gaming. $25,000 alone to that person. So I highly recommend you just check it out. And like I said, get a bunch of people, throw them in the room, you split the costs. It's gonna be so much fun. I mean, besides that ticket cost in the room, that's it. After you do that, you gotta pay for some food, and I'll buy you drinks. Don't worry. I will, as you know, as people who know me, I'll buy drinks. So I hope to see you there. Check it out at WSBGvegas.com. By the way, they just had a newsletter that went out last night, sort of the final newsletter. And on the list of all the guests, it was awesome. It was me at the top, literally at the top of a block of 12 other people after that. And it said guest of honor. They actually used the wrong logo. It says the Godfather game. So they had me at the top, and then under that it had Tom Vassell as the next one, and then Paula Deming, and then Rob and Christina Rouse. That was awesome. I have to post that. I think it's just too good not to post. Anyway, I hope to see some of you out there. It's going to be so much fun. We still have open cabins for Podfather the Cruise, January 7th through 15th, 2023. Check that out. You go over to Tabletop Events, or just come over to the Podfather Gaming group, and it's the featured event there. It'll give you all the information. We're traveling 8 nights, going down to South America And the best thing of all is you're cruising for charity. All net proceeds are going to charity. I'm paying for my own cabin. It's going to be epic. We'll only have 20, 30 cabins. It's going to be small, intimate gaming, plus all the great social aspects that you get when you do cruising. Going to be a lot of fun. I really hope that we can get a few more cabins booked, because this is a great, great thing to do. Have a great time and do it for charity. And then we get over to, we'll go straight down to, yes, the Artemis 1 launch, failure to launch, sadly. So I was there for 3 days, 2 nights I was there for. The highlights, because it didn't launch, as we just mentioned, the highlights were that they had, of course, it was a huge to-do, like days, a week beforehand, they had all these events going on and stuff like that. So Paula and I got there. We got to take pictures with and meet 2 of the Artemis astronauts. So what does that mean? So there are currently, I'm going to make up a number, I'm not sure, 20 to 24 maybe astronauts that are in this, the U.S. space program of United States astronauts in the space program. And we met 2 of them, either of whom could be the next person that sets foot on the moon. We met Kate Rubins and Stephanie Wilson, both women, and they were sending a woman as one of the first people back on the moon, and a person of color. You know what? I'm gonna, if it's one of them, I'm gonna be saying I knew them before they got there. I knew them.
Here's my wife texting me your pictures with them and telling me that she wants to be there as well. So yeah.
See, it was true. You can go over to my Facebook page and all the Podfather Gaming group. I posted the pictures there of me with the 2 amazing women who could be the next people that step foot on the moon. We did that. We also got to see technology demonstrations of some of the new things that are going to be in the Orion spacecraft. It's a part of it actually is Alexa enabled. So they got my device just went off when I said her name right there on my desk. I love that when I do that. We had subject matter experts from all of the different contractors giving talks. So all of these things were great. It was a great experience. Of course, it should have been culminated with the largest rocket ever to launch in history, the new Space Launch System, 8.8 million pounds of thrust. That's 20% bigger than the Saturn V, which was the previous record holder there. It did not go. Engine 3 could not bleed, meaning chill itself down. So the next potential launch is Friday. They have not a launch announced for sure that they will be going on Friday. If they do, I will be back there. The next one after that is Monday. It's going to be really hard to go to that one, but you know me, I'm crazy enough to do this. I'm going to be away for this weekend. So sort of the next thing I'm going to mention anyway is that I'm going to Key West, Florida. Key West, Florida is from my home to 3.5 hours. So it's right, you go to the south, the tip of Florida, and then you head west, all those chain of islands. It's pretty far from here. Kennedy Space Center is the exact opposite direction, north. So if I go to either one of, to the Friday launch or the Monday launch, I'm going to have to make that entire trip. So it's going to be like a 6-hour drive, which I really don't like to do, though. Of course, I shouldn't complain because I'll be driving my car, which I love so much. But wow, I really hope they go Friday. It'll be a lot easier. If they go Monday, I'm going to have to leave. Ridiculous, like it's going to be like leaving in the morning, crazy hour to get back, and oh gosh, first world problems. I know. So anyway,
NASA, do you hear us? Do you listen to the podcast? Please make it on Friday. Like we need that.
NASA, we needed to do it on Friday if you can, please. After that, it doesn't happen until the end of September, and I won't be able to go. Why? Because I'll be at the World Series of Board Gaming on the next launch attempt, so I won't be able to go. All right, let's get over to the event deck. All right. In what is likely the biggest geek news that we'll ever hear, right? We talk about a lot of great news on this show, right? the biggest geek news maybe of all time is that the Embracer Group, right? They are the owners of Asmodee, by far the largest hobby game company. The owners, the Embracer Group, has entered into an agreement to acquire the IP rights to the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, the literary works of J.R.R. Tolkien. So, I mean, Ignacy, it's unbelievable, this news to me. When I saw this, I'm like, this company now is like the one-stop shop of geekdom, because they own all these video games. They own all these great board games. They own all the licenses for all of this. And now
comic books and comic books.
Comic books and comic books that they own. The third or fourth largest comic book company in the world. That's Dark Horse. And now they own the absolute greatest IP of all time, in my humble opinion, that of the Tolkien works. And they have mentioned in their press release that they will be specifically looking to do new movies, new television, new everything with this. So you don't spend this kind of money and not have a plan, right? Middle-earth Enterprises, which was the current then owner of the rights, they got the rights. They're just the name of a company. They got their rights directly from the family, the Tolkien estate. So they own the worldwide rights that they then give out to people to do different things, right? They gave it to Peter Jackson, right? Those guys to do the movies. They gave it to Fantasy Flight to do board games, right, back in the day. And then now Ares has those rights. So they are now going to be divvying out the rights, of course, to themselves for more video and board games, but they're also going to be putting out rights to do movies and more TV and more books and more. Oh, it's just, this is going to be insane.
Yeah, this news shows us that we are now discussing a completely different league of news. Like when we were discussing that Asmodee bought the design studio, or somebody even bought Asmodee, but now we are talking with a company that owns Asmodee that is buying the Lord of the Rings, and we are discussing, as you mentioned, for movies, for TV shows, for everything. So we started this podcast when Asmodee was buying some small design studios. Now we are talking about the owner of the Asmodee buying the Lord of the Rings. What can be bigger? I don't know if there is any bigger news that we can provide in the future. Yeah. Like, it is mind-blowing.
So let's do some math here, which is pretty amazing. So Embracer just bought Asmodee, and the amount was $3 billion. Staggering. And Asmodee had put themselves up, well, the former owners of Asmodee had kind of put the company up for around 2 billion, 2.2, something like that, billion US. But then there was a bidding war for them, and they ended up selling for 3 billion. Now, in July or early August, one or the other, I read this online, Middle-earth Enterprises said that they were going to sell the rights, soon, and their asking price was about $2 billion. So assuming they got that offer really quickly, because I doubt that they got an offer for $1 billion and they just took it. I mean, you wouldn't do that, right? It's like, oh, Embracer came in and said, sure, okay, you got it, we'll buy it, $2 billion. Embracer just spent $5 billion on Asmodee and these rights. I mean, that's incredible numbers.
Yeah, totally. So much. This is very important to buy rights, to buy the IPs, to buy something that they will just start building the product. Like they didn't build like a manufacturer. They didn't build something that they will. It's just like IP that you want to build on in the long run.
Yeah, amazing. Now, of course, they do likely buy a revenue stream, current revenue stream, meaning like, so for the movies, pick that, right? That was the biggest Tolkien thing, all of the movies, right? 5, 6 movies. Those things still are being played, and there's still revenue that comes in, and that revenue was going, I'm sure, to Middle-earth Enterprises, who then pass some, most, a lot of it through to the Tolkien estate. So Embracer now owns all of that revenue. They own all the revenue on what's happening right now with probably, I don't know this for a fact, but probably like the new Amazon series, right? They're going to own some of that revenue. So all of this stuff Embracer is going to now have, plus all the new development that they will do. Amazing. I'm floored. I was literally, when I saw this, I thought it was like, it's got to be April Fool's joke or something like that, that, you know, the parent company of Asmodee is buying all of my favorite IP on the planet. So
we want to announce very officially that at some point when in the market everything will be already bought, because they're just buying and being bigger and bigger, and there will be just one big Pac-Man that bought everything, they will shut down the podcast because there will be no more news. So
this will be no more news yet.
At some point we'll say, like, somebody bought everything, goodbye.
So in Ignacy's favorite topic of all, of course,
love it.
is GAMA, and he really loves it even more when they're not announcing anything of substance, but when they're announcing that they're electing new board of director members. And I'm sorry for laughing so hard, but this is exactly what you don't want to hear, because I know you want to hear substantive news. The board of directors met on August 18th, and they elected new officers. The officers and their associated companies are President Frank West from City of Games, Vice President Grace Collins of Snowbright Studios, Treasurer Stefan Brassard of Funko Games, and Secretary Monica Meyer Rasso of Meeple at Sea. For the record, I'm very good friends. I know very well, obviously, Stefan and Monica. I met Frank West, actually, in the airport on the way back from Gen Con, which is kind of funny. I had met him in the long distant past, and then I saw him there, and he introduced himself to me. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, great. So this all happened because the president stepped down. He had personal reasons. He stepped down. That was Kylie Primus. And he did that in July, and they, by the way that they work, they wait to the next meeting, and who's going to be the new president, and then they also, I guess, maybe either at the same time or for various reasons, they pick people to be in the other positions as well, because the president isn't elected; they elect people, and then they figure out who the president is going to be. So yeah, there's nothing that says, oh, these great things are happening here. But I'd like to say that I like these people a lot. I know personally 3 of the 4 of them. Maybe I know Grace Collins. I'm not sure. I don't think so. So, Ignacy, I know that you're going to give me a Slavic answer here, but I'm going to stay positive.
No. I just want to say that I'm feeling that I'm losing because GAMA will win this against me. I'm running out of the jokes about this situation, like with so many news. Like, I don't know if I can keep up with all these changes with the elections. And at some point, there'll be no Slavic comment on these GAMA elections because I will run out of the jokes. So, GAMA, you are doing it right.
Do you know that I actually got contacted by, I don't want to say who, someone on the GAMA board a year or so ago, who said, I hear you talked about us on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, we do it all the time, actually. But sure, he goes, I better go listen and hear what you're saying. I'm like, well, just so you know, I'm always positive, and you know, my co-host might be negative, but I'm always giving a good spin, and with good reason. I believe in people, and I believe that they will, in the end, always try to do the right thing.
Yeah, this is my positive answer. GAMA is winning.
GAMA is winning. Ignacy is losing. Okay. The next one is another kind of big thing. It's not in board gaming at all. It's tangential to hobby gaming. And this is eBay is acquiring TCG Player, who will continue to operate separately. So eBay Incorporated and TCG Player have reached a definitive agreement for eBay to acquire TCG Player, the company's announced, with TCG Player continuing to operate as a separate company. So I should take a step and say, what is TCG Player? They are a company that will grade or be a trading place for your TCG cards. They're a card trading place. Now, obviously, Asmodee is a place to do, eBay is a place to do that, right? You can put your cards up on eBay, and people do that very often. But people who are the more hardcore people use TCG Player. So eBay, seeing that the other guys have got this huge market share on doing something that they're doing already, and they do a lot of it, both sides, they said, you know what? We're going to go buy them. Listen to the price of what they paid. They paid $295 million for TCG Player. Now, eBay's got a lot of money, of course, but TCG Player, I privately held, so we don't know what their revenue is. And it must be staggering amount of money transacted on that platform for eBay to say, well, they're making a lot of money over there. We better go get them. That was the biggest part of this. There are a lot of players, collectors who are using TCG Player, and they're making a lot of money on that platform.
I'm not sure if we were reporting these, but I know that I saw it in the news, so I don't remember if we reported that during the COVID time, many people get back to the collecting cards, and we are talking football cards and baseball cards and all this stuff. And of course, you remember, because we were reporting what was happening with Pokemon cards when the adults were stealing cards from the kids in the stores. So apparently, this is like a growing interest in something that we might think that was dying. And I'm pretty sure that eBay has some smart people who make analysts and check the numbers, and they are knowing what they are doing. So good for us.
Yeah, a couple of really interesting pieces to this as well is that TCG Player raised $10 million in equity financing from Radican Capital back in 2018, and another $35 million in debt financing from Vista Credit Partners last year. So that means that they are big enough to have went out to the market privately and said, you know, we need some money to grow. So they went out and they raised $10 million. So that's a pretty significant amount. And then just 3 years after that first raise, they went out and they floated a bond, so to speak. They went out and they got a loan for $35 million more. So they were obviously a very big growing company. But I don't know how much capital was in that company, but if it was only $45 million, they just made a lot of money when they then sold it for $295 million. Ignacy, that's a pretty great return on investment. And another cool thing here that they mentioned is that as part of this transaction, all 688 employees, both hourly and salaried, so think about it, they almost 700 employees in this company, will share in the financial rewards of this deal as a result of our employee stock option plan. So they had a stock option plan. They were obviously compensating people on some level, or maybe you could buy the stock options at a discounted price. Really cool.
Very cool.
All of these people are going to make money based on this deal. So I don't know how much money the actual valuation of the company was versus what that option was, but suffice to say, if you bought that option for, I'm making up a number, $1 each, they probably then made $20 on that. I made those numbers up, but based on the little bit that we just saw there of the capitalization of originally $10 million and then later $35 million in debt, they could have gone 20 times investment on those options. Not sure, but congratulations to all parties, and I'm glad eBay's got deep pockets that they can do this. And Ignacy's telling me that we gotta go to strategy and tactics. Okay, so last week we challenged our listeners to find references to countries at the top board game sales in total in the world, Europe, Asia, North America. We want to hear all of this. You know, we always talk about the US as being the #1 in the world in hobby gaming, and Germany is maybe #2, but the per capita is possibly the Netherlands. So we asked people to go out there and try to figure it out for us. and Ignacy, did they do a good job? Let's take a look. It was one of my challenges of the week. And we have Sarah Reed, who dug around for a while. She couldn't find anybody providing the kind of stacks that we're looking for. But she did find some links, and there's no summary here. Sarah, you didn't give me a summary of this. I can't read through it all, can I? Eric Langenbach, he found no numbers for Sweden, not in a single one. He found an essay in 2012. It's old news, Eric. Oh, see, everybody who talks about this, they've kind of failed us a little bit, Ignacy. I guess this is just hard numbers to figure out.
I think you are our best investigative reporter, and nobody can compete with you, sir.
So you know what, guys? I'm gonna have to go out. I'm gonna have to do this myself. But here's a really good one that I did that Sarah did put up there. So the top 10 board game stats. We'll just read these because they're just kind of cool. Board game market experienced a 15% loss in 2020 due to COVID. I don't believe that, but that's what this website said. With 67% tabletop games, tabletop games had the highest market share in 2020. With 67%, tabletop games had the highest of all board games. Tabletop games raised $236 million on Kickstarter in 2020. These are not the stats that we wanted, Ignacy. All right, everybody out there, I'm going to have to do my own investigative reporting because we didn't get any hardcore stats here. So hopefully next time, guys, or sometime in the future, I'll come back with some more hardcore stats on really where are the biggest hobby game sales in the world per capita and in total.
I want to make it very official. Steven is not saying that our listeners suck or whatever. He just says that they cannot find data.
They did not find the data. Of course they don't. When you said that they sucked when they didn't get us to become nominated or for the
you mentioned that again.
for the Golden Geek Award, but we won't go there. You did not say suck. We love our listeners and we get such great commentary, especially in the YouTube channel. I mean, it's amazing things people say there. Josh Wasser, who's at You Old Goat. I love it. I think maybe he's talking to me. Congratulations on reaching 200. Really appreciate your podcast over these years. Steven, post-retirement, do you ever get contacted by Stronghold Indie for questions or advice? Steven Ignacy, are there other publishers that you reach out to for advice on occasion? So first, they more occasionally they ask me, where one of the bodies are buried, if you know what that expression means. Right. In other words, who did you deal with at so-and-so company or something like that? Yeah, sure. Occasionally, but not now in well over a year. So, in the first 6 months or a year, I got a question here and there, but we talk occasionally just about fun stuff, and things like that, and at the conventions. And of course, and Travis and I maintain a great relationship. Second question from Josh was, are there other publishers that reach out to you for advice on occasion? I'm gonna go to you first on that, and I'll take it after that.
Yeah, so I would not maybe say that somebody is asking me or any of my employees for advice, but we have, I would say, open channels. So we have this networking of the different publishers from different countries. And sometimes we discuss. We have these Skype calls with some questions about some market or some partner in other country or some growth or change in the market. So this is not like a per se, hey, I want to ask you for advice, but rather like, let's discuss this topic and we exchange some knowledge to help each other. So yes, this one is quite common. Sometimes there are just funny rumors or funny gossips. Sometimes they're quite important topics. So yes, we have open channels with our friends from different countries, and we discuss about the changes in the industry. So this is happening.
And I would say 100% that I, even to this day, get questions and, they'll ask me questions about things, and that could be in person, that could be via emails, and it certainly happened back in the day. Smaller publishers would come and ask various questions. I mean, the small ones like, well, who do you use to do this? Or how do you like your logistics company and things like that. I recently, within the last few months to beginning of this year, I don't remember exactly, was asked by a major publisher, I would say major, to talk about print runs with them. How about that? They wanted to know about, what I thought about the print run sizes they were going for and what I would tell them about some of the print run sizes that I had done for certain game. You might be able to figure out what the game was, but that was that happens, and I'm of course more than happy to talk to people about things like that. That's awesome. Mr. Juggles, he says 200 episodes plus. Awesome. My 200th episode question was what part of the design process and running a company gives you the most joy? And he gives a few suggestions: getting an idea and helping it blossom and starting its journey, sending off all the final artwork to get it printed, getting that first production copy and seeing the end product of months of work, hearing all the feedback on social media, traveling to conventions to play and rave about your creations in real life. Ignacy, is there a single part that you can point to say that's the part that gives me the most joy?
Yeah, of course, the most joy, and I'm not sure if this is a true answer from the standpoint of the publisher, or rather the fact that I'm the designer. So at this Gen Con, there were so many people who approached me and said so many nice things about the game that they played, that I designed, that they loved. And it is always super amazing to meet fans who play these games and talk about what happened, how they solved detective, how they were playing with their friends. So this is amazing. But this is, I would say, from the standpoint of the designer, like I don't know if there's somebody is approaching to the publisher and saying, I love your games. Like, we rather go to the designers, right? Because the designer is the one who designed the game. So I would say that meeting with the fans is absolutely the best part of the whole process. The rest is misery and stress with all these China situations.
Misery and stress. Well, so for me, I think it's I'm gonna be saying during the publishing portion of my life, it was getting that first production copy, right? And sometimes you arrive at the convention. With Essen, that would happen all the time. Every year, you'd show up there and you'd see the game for the first time produced. You might see some photographs that your printer sent you, maybe even a video, but you'd finally see the game shrink wrapped there for you. And in fact, sometimes after the convention started, you still hadn't seen it because they hadn't delivered it yet until the day after the convention started. That has happened many times. Thank you, Ludofact, very much for those things that happened at Essen. But yeah, seeing that game for the first time, always the best. Now, these days, my favorite part of what we do here is not talking to Ignacy every week. Well, I mean, I love that very, very much. But I really, really love going to the conventions and meeting everybody. That is so fuel for my soul when people come up to me and say, love what you do for the community. I mean, I can't tell you how much I love that. So anybody out there, and I always say it a million times, don't ever think you can't stop me when I'm walking. If you're too shy, just scream Bonacor or Podfather, and that's cool too. But don't feel shy. Just come up and say, hey, let me shake your hand. Can I take a selfie with you? And I always take a selfie too, both directions. It is the coolest part of what we do these days for me. David Farrington, he's at Faza Factory. He asked the question, this is an industry question, how organized are board game companies, for example, Portal Games, in relation to their customers, i.e., do you use CRM, which is customer relationship management systems, or marketing platforms like MailChimp, or both, and or Excel spreadsheets still to go? How much has changed in recent years as the industry continues to mature? Do you think board game companies in the industry will move to a membership model, i.e. discounts and pre-orders in the future, similar to Stonemaier, the way Stonemaier works? So Ignacy, this is a great question on how the internals of your company works and other companies. How close are you to doing things the way really big companies work?
Yeah, we are using a lot of the software to have a very good knowledge about our customers and their actions and what they order, what they want to order, what they are looking for. So over the years, we were updating and changing different software as the years pass, as the new solutions are embedded by the software company. So yes, we used to use MailChimp, but no longer. We are using now different software. And yes, I have the whole department of the e-commerce who is in charge of knowing what customers we have, what these customers are looking for, how we can provide them great offers. So yes, this is a very important part of the business, selling directly to the customer, and we are improving on that all the time, because I think it is a crucial part of my business. So yes, we are using pretty sophisticated software. I'm no longer in charge of that. Of course, I have the team for that, so I don't know details, but I know that I'm paying for some very expensive software to bring more money to the company.
Right. So for Stronghold and most companies, I think that I think some of them will use CRM software, but not all. It depends on like how many people you have to deal with externally to the company. Absolutely, everyone's going to use a MailChimp or something like that. We used to use Constant Contact. They're all the same. I mean, they do it all a little bit differently, but you have to maintain your newsletter platform and your outreach to your customers, to the actual gamers. Spreadsheets are absolutely important, just to keep track of your sales and month to month, and what games sold, what's your inventory. All of that's going to be done in spreadsheets and come from your sales agents and things like that. Those are the biggest tool in every business on the planet. Excel or related is the #1 tool. They'll have plenty of other tools, but Excel is so powerful for doing things. It's going to be your biggest tool. As far QuickBooks, I mean, you need an accounting software when you get to a certain size. Back in the day, I first used Excel just to keep track of the accounting, all of the different entries, and you categorize them into what they are. This one is a convention expense. This one's an office expense, etc. This one is your revenue, right? Revenue for distributors, revenue for retailers. And then you get big enough that you just start using QuickBooks, which is better, and your accountant likes it better as well. Moving to a pre-order system like Stonemaier, I don't know that that's going to become the norm. Stonemaier's got a very specific business model that works for them that way. I see why they do it, but I don't think that that's going to be the one that most people will use. He also asked, Stephen, you answered my previous question and mentioned that before you retired, that you were looking at coming to Australia. Sure. Well, just saying, we have great local craft breweries here. In fact, we love them so much, craft breweries even got their own tax break recently. Nice. Not to mention our wine is fantastic too. Yes, it is. The Southeast Australian wines are quite good, quite prized. So I'm pretty sure you would have a great time. Yes, I would. Now, David, you need to reach out to your convention organizers there and have them make me their very special guest of honor and fly me out. I'll take it from there. You fly me out, I will be coming out. I need a little compensation, perk, a little flight, like $3,000 flight to get there. So, all right, David, work on that. In the meantime,
this is 18 hours flight, and you call it little flight?
So yeah, that's a flight, all right. In the meantime, let's get over to playtesting. So Ignacy, last week you asked a dreadful question. Dreadful. And that question was, what worries you most about the future of the hobby game industry? What answers do you want to highlight about people's dreads about the hobby game industry?
Yeah, there was the most common notion here was increasing of the prices and the problem with the logistics. So this is what was mentioned the most. I want to mention one very interesting answer that concerns me as a designer. And Ben says, I worry about so many games being produced that a lot of the better quality ones get overlooked or underplayed. This is a variation on some of the worries mentioned above, but instead of a lot of bad games, I worry about some of the good ones that might get underappreciated due to the continuous river of the new board gamers. And this is a concern of all designers. like Ignacy, like everyone else, that we design a game and we believe in this game that it will be amazing. And sometimes it is amazing, but because there's so many other games released, because there's so many other companies pushing the titles, your game might be overlooked. And I'm absolutely confident that among these 300 new releases at the Gen Con, among these 500 new releases at the Essen, there will be a couple of great games that you will not hear about because they'll be just overlooked, overcrowded with the new releases, and it bothers me. It makes me sad, me as a designer. So high five with Ben. I'm also worried, but this is true also for the music, for the books, for the movies. It is true for all the content that we create as a creative persons. There is so much content out there that you can miss about a great TV show because everybody was discussing Game of Thrones. You may miss some of the movies because Bullet Train was the most hyped, etc., etc.
Very, very good answers. I picked Adrian Patterson. He said that are games less likely to make it to far-flung places like New Zealand, which I bet he's from, due to logistics and price. But we have great local game industry here, and he still wants to have all of the games show up there. My friend Han, this is his first question he's put out here, his first answer he's put to us. Hanorama, good to see you. He says, I don't think the board game industry or anything is recession-proof. So he thinks that we could see a recession. I disagree, actually. I think we are recession-proof. We've proven that, Han. Still have a hard time understanding why we cannot print, manufacture, package board games in the U.S. So he wants to see that happening here. And I think we're going to see it more. This one is going to be hard over time. And finally, my board game purchase criteria has gotten stricter as time goes on. I'm an old guy, I have to admit it. I still have I still have a hard time paying $40 for a game. So there's a lot of things that are going up. So raising the prices are a big thing. The best answer here, I thought, was Chris Steele. And to your question, Ignacy, he says he worries about nothing. Nothing. This is the most positive answer. And you know I like to be positive. Are shipping prices rising? Sure. But just make more selective about the games that I get shipped to me. Are companies getting bought up and consolidated in mega groups? Sure. But this happens in all industries. Are companies going out of business that I don't want to see leave? Sure. But not every company is going to succeed. And he goes through like 10, 12 different things here. He says, in summary, there are plenty of other things to worry about. My escapist hobby is not one of them. Isn't that a great, that's sort of a very good positive thing to think. There are a lot of bad.
No, we need to worry. We need to think about the backup plans.
Chris, there's a lot of bad things that happen in this world. This is your hobby. Try not to worry. Play great games. There's lots of them out there. That's a great message for everybody. And we have, my question here. Oh no, here it is. Okay, I did not screw this one up. My question now to everybody is that since Ignacy gave you a dreadful question last week, the Podfather game, he's going to ask you a pleasant question, Slavic versus American thing. What excites you the most about the future of the hobby game industry? And I've given you some ideas that you can put here. It could be a new mechanic, a new technology integration, a specific company, maybe the growth of the industry in general, or the growth of the number of gamers, whatever. What excites you the most about the future of the hobby game industry? Ignacy, anything you want to mention?
For sure, I can mention that this Gen Con was so amazing. That what excites me is going back to the convention season. I know that you were at the conventions last year already. And for me, it was this year when I was able to finally go to Gen Con, and we are going to Essen in a few weeks. So I'm excited about the next year that we are going to be full throttle for once again, meeting with the fans, promoting games, doing these events, having these great releases. I started my company as a very small one, and I was doing all my marketing before internet was invented on the convention, just going to the small cities, to the different conventions, and convention is the place when I strive, when I'm very happy. So I'm excited about the upcoming years of once again meeting with people and promoting games. on the site.
Very, very, very cool and true. Yeah, I've had that excitement portion already. I might have said that. I mean, mine is this the amazing expansion of the number of gamers, right? So to me, it's like it's becoming almost more odd that you meet somebody who they don't even know about games. Now it's like everybody has heard of code names or Catan, right? Everybody knows this. You're just random people like you meet in like Starbucks and like what you used to do. I used to make board games. Oh yeah, we just got this game. It's called Ticket to Ride. There you go. You're one of us. So I love the fact that we are becoming mainstream, and that's a beautiful thing. So Ignacy's right now going to create a thread with this entire thing here, Ignacy. There you go. For you to answer the question that we have just posed to you. Please go over to the Guild on Board Game Geek, find our playtesting thread for this question, and post your answer, and then we'll talk about it next time. In the meantime, let's get over to final scoring. Thank you all so much for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts, or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. To ask us questions for strategy and tactics, you must post them in the correct thread in our Guild on Board Game Geek. And to answer our question to you from our playtesting segment also, go to our Guild on Board Game Geek, look for the thread with this episode's question. Board Games Insider has a Facebook page, so please like us there. Also on Facebook, please like Ignacy's page and Steven's page, /PortalGamesUS and /PodfatherGaming. The websites, portalgamesus.com and podfathergaming.com. Go there. Sign up for the newsletters. On social media, you can speak directly to Ignacy and Steven. On Twitter, it's @PortalGamesUS and @PodfatherGaming. Same on Instagram. And on YouTube, the channel names are Portal Games Movies, Portal Games Gameplays, and The Podfather of Gaming. On TikTok, see Ignacy at Portal Games US. We hope to see you at an upcoming convention. Ignacy is very excited to see you since he didn't see as many people as I did, but I love seeing everybody. So hopefully we'll see people at the World Series of Board Gaming in Essen, BGGCon, PAX Unplugged, all coming up this year. Board Games Insider is professionally edited by Matthew Jude from This Game is Broken podcast. If you'd like him to edit your podcast, please contact him on Twitter or email at thisgameisbrokenpodcast@gmail.com. Also, that great voice you hear doing the intro, outro, and in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Ignacy, I might have some news here to talk about.
I see it in the show notes, and I'm excited.
And Ignacy has no idea what I'm about to say, what I mean by this, because this is about as vague as you can get. The Podfather of Gaming is working on a super secret project in the game industry. Hint. The only hint I'm going to give you for the moment is that this will not violate the Podfather retirement rule number 1 of no work. What does that mean? How can I be working on a project and not be working? Well, you're all going to have to wait because I cannot talk about it. I'll give you more information about it over time. I'll give you even more information in the near future about what I mean, what kind of thing am I involved with. I'm not even going to tell Ignacy. I'm going to let him hear about it as you hear about it. How's that? It's just going to make him drive him crazy. Anyway, thank you guys all for listening. We really appreciate the support, and we'll see you next time on Board Games Insider.
Thank you. Take care.